Hey Zen fam. So the other day I was in the discussion on Twitter, like you do, and me and these other three chaps, we got blethering, and we were talking about games that we missed and games we'd love to see come back. And the usual suspects floated to the top of the list, of course. Infamous, Killzone, Motorstorm, all that sort of lovely stuff. Obviously somebody they went, oh, I'd like to see a Splinter Cell. There's always somebody. And then I said a game, and everybody basically, metaphorically, dropped everything they were doing. Good God, yes! And it's a game that we got one last go of properly on PS3. Admittedly, there were I think one or two goes at it again, but they were like silly versions that didn't really pan out right, and nobody really played, as far as I'm aware. I never heard anybody talk about them in any forum everywhere, apart from when they were released. And it's the series that basically started PlayStation. There are two games that I bought when I got my first PlayStation, my original Model 1 PSX. And it's the same for a lot of people. It's also a game that, like the other game of those two that I bought, came directly from the arcade. You get any clue? They both came from Namco. You're really getting a clue now, aren't you? You ready for the answer? Because I think some of you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Ridge Racer! Oh my god, I loved Ridge Racer. I played a hell out of that game. I loved it. And what you may not remember, as I've spoken about in some cases in the past on this channel, when I got my original PlayStation and I bought it off my sister's then boyfriend for 80 quid a year after it came out. The reason I got it so cheap is because it didn't have a memory card. He didn't understand you need a memory card for it, so he got fed up with it and sold it on to me. Right, so I had to save up a bit of money, obviously, to get a memory card, because those things weren't cheap. Because, well, what is in electronics? Anyway, in the time where I had to basically play video games on a PlayStation with no memory, because I didn't have a memory card yet, I got particularly good at Ridge Racer. I got to a point where I was regularly able to win against the yellow car at the end. I had to, because I didn't have that stuff. So to have the best at the game, I had to beat the game or do really, really well at the game anyway, just to have a decent play session. So I got particularly good at Ridge Racer. And to be fair, it's the only racing game I've ever really gotten really good at. Because I battered at it that hard. And it's all I had for a really, really long time. Because I was on dole then, and I was Captain Skinty Boos. Okay? Lord knows how I got together the 80 quid for that PlayStation, but I did. So there you go. Anyway, so Ridge Racer's been a big part of my gaming history. I had Ridge Racer. I got Ridge Racer 2, and I had Rage Racer, which was fantastic. And to my mind, of the non-HD generation of Ridge Racers, that's the best one. Yes, I had Ridge Racer R-Type 4, which I won in an interesting scenario, where basically one night I went to a metal club that I used to go to. It had moved locations, and it was doing particularly well in its new location. But that's beside the point. Outside the place where the metal club was being called, a place called The Venue, which is funny because it was The Venue, alright, which used to be primarily for gigs, but they did club nights too, but mostly it was for gigs. But they were, at this point in its existence, it was housing a club that I used to go to called The Mission. Alright, the Edinburgh people of a certain age, you ken this, especially if you're of the metal community. So, this coach, and I mean a full-size luxury coach, was parked outside the venue. And inside it was comfy seating and sleeping bags and stuff, but the front of the coach, and it was couch, there was gaming stuff. You know, there was like tellies and PlayStations. And at this time it was PS2. So I was there with the PS2 and I was playing this Ridge Racer R-Type 4. And it was fun enough. And what the guy said was, he said, if you get the fastest lap, you'll win a copy. I was like, oh, that's nice. Well, I gave it a go. And I quietly thought to myself, you know, you stand a chance here, mate. Because as a Scottish male metalhead, most of my brothers and sisters, they're like a drink. What some of you may not know about me out there in the Zen fam is, although I'm Scottish, male, and metal, I don't drink. I've never been a drinker. So that meant that when I was playing that game, and with all my previous experience of the Ridge Racer titles, and years and years and years and years and years of gaming, added to the fact that my reflexes were not dulled by the demon drink. It was looking pretty good for your boy, and of course it was. So a couple hours later, I come out of the club, briefly, to check and see whether or not I've won, and of course I had. And not only did I come home with a copy of Ridge Racer R-Type 4, I also had the strategy guidebook, which is one of only 2 strategy guidebooks I've ever owned. One of them I won, the other one I bought. And the other one I bought was the one for Grand Theft Auto 5, as you've seen from the Grand Theft Auto 5 videos. If you've ever gone back to see the launch night videos, I might try and remember to put a link in the description or something, who knows. Or maybe an annotation or something, I don't know. Anyway, so Ridge Racer's been big for me. I've loved Ridge Racer for the longest time. And when the first ever playable PS3 came to Edinburgh, it was an import PS3. It was in the CEX on Rose Street in Edinburgh, and this was a clear 2, possibly 3 months. It's hard to remember because it was a long time ago now, but 2-3 months before it was released here, because like a lot of the time with PlayStations, they release in North America before they come to this wee windy island. So they had one on import on a telly with a couple of controllers connected to it that you couldn't just run away with, and the only thing they had for it was Ridge Racer. And this Ridge Racer, it was shiny, it was fast, but it seemed to have lost some of its soul. It was just a bit flat. I mean, performed beautifully, but it was just like, it felt more like a tech demo than it did a game. And for me, that was the last Ridge Racer I ever played, having been a big fan of the series, like forever. And they did do another one a few years later. It was meant to be the comeback of it, and you're racing through cities and stuff, and it was like loop-to-loops and stuff, which is just not Ridge Racer. That's more like Trackmania. Okay, that's not Ridge Racer. They did still have the drifting run corners, which is very much a staple of Ridge Racer, that drifting. The only thing I never liked with Ridge Racer was the fact that all the heavy techno. But luckily with the PS1 and the PS2, you could take out the game disc once the track was loaded, slide in the music disc, and away you go. No, you actually, could you do that with the PS2? I kind of mind. It's so long ago. But anyway, you could definitely do that on PlayStation 1. So you could swap the discs and have your own music, and that was grand. It meant that you couldn't really change tracks, you had to stay on the same track. And if you wanted to change tracks, you had to take out the music disc, put in the game disc, do the next track, so you'd get it. It was a faff. Of course, nowadays, we can have Spotify on our games consoles, so we can race to whatever we like. So I think it would just be absolutely lovely to take all the Ridge Racer games, except that last one with the loop-de-loop, because it was silly and it wasn't really Ridge Racer. Have the paint jobs of one, but up-resed to now. All the cars, all the stuff, the customization mode from Ridge Racer, the story mode aesthetic from R-Type 4, and basically the just absolute pure racingness and drifting love of the first two. Oh man, I think we'd be onto something really special. Have a really good, chunky, arcadey, fun race game. Because there's not enough of that. Most of the racing stuff we get now is either just large and bombastic or super, super technical. There's never anything that just comes along and just goes, let's just race and let's slide around corners and look and have, you know, flashy cars and just go a bit mental. Need more of that. That should come back. So the way to get that is with Ridge Racer. So let's call it, say, Ridge Racer Zero. Give it, you know, like a nice dramatic name and have it be a culmination of all Ridge Racer that's come before. Get that number and get chasing after that yellow car. Ho ho! That's the way forward. No cars that actually really exist. All of them just cars for the game that exist only in the game. And I think it could just be just a fun experience, pure online, you know, racing against others, racing against the computer. Just honest to goodness, racing joy. Who could argue with that, really? Make it happen. Make it happen. And I know what you can make happen. Well, you can hashtag support Scottish YouTubers, and of course, as always, aye, nae bother.